I'm warning you, you are not the victim. You are the cause of this entire beef. You keep saying my son, King Harris, disrespected your mother and crossed your line.
You are embarrassing yourself and your family. You embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing yourself.
That's T.I. right there, caught on camera with his own son in a headlock at an NFL game, live for the entire world to see. But that wild moment isn't even half the story. The real shock came from the beef he sparked with 50 Cent, a feud so messy and so personal that when T.I.P. made his next move, the whole culture froze in disbelief. This wasn't just drama, it was an earthquake in hip-hop.
You are the cause of this entire beef. You keep saying my son, King Harris, disrespected your mother and crossed your line. But let me tell you something. If you can't stand people talking about your mother, then don't talk about theirs.
Nah, I said I wanted 50. That's what I said. He don't want no smoke, though.
Oh, Lord.
I called my man out. He don't want no smoke. He ducking smoke.
The rap game's been on fire lately, but nobody saw this explosion coming. What started as a friendly Verzus-style challenge between two certified legends turned into one of the most ruthless, disrespectful showdowns the game's seen in years. Moms getting called out, wives' names getting dragged, sons getting pulled into the mix. Nobody was safe. Whole reputations were getting roasted in the group chat like it was open season. And just when everyone thought T.I. and 50 were locked in for life, T.I. flipped the script. He did the one thing no one saw coming. He actually reached out and apologized. But hold up, we ain't at the apology part yet. The road leading there, straight chaos. Diss tracks flying left and right.
You were the first one to post my wife Tiny's private, embarrassing photos online, dragging a woman into the drama and using her as a weapon to humiliate her.
I'm not raised like that.
Posts going up then disappearing, families jumping into the mix, and violations so wild that even the toughest battle-tested rappers had to look away. And if you think it all ends with 50 Cent, think again, because there's another storm coming.
You're the one with no limits. King was just protecting his mom and spoke out of anger. You pushed him to it. You disrespected my family first, so don't you dare complain when we fire back.
So tell your mama dig her up and post a picture that look better than my mom.
T.I. ended up clashing with his own son, King Harris, and it all went down on camera. The clip spread across the internet like wildfire, and people still can't stop replaying it. But to really understand how it got this crazy, you gotta rewind the clock back to the early 2000s, when both Tip and Fifth were dominating the rap game from two completely different corners of the map. T.I., straight out of Atlanta repping Bankhead, and 50 Cent holding it down in Queens, South Jamaica. Both came in with street-certified credibility, none of that fake image stuff the industry loves to push.
You say I can't control my kid, but you can't even follow the basic hip-hop rule. Don't go after family. You have no right to talk about raising anyone. And about Verzus, you agreed to the battle face-to-face, then you ducked it and started lying with old stories.
Have you ever woke up with a roach on your face?
No, that's not the goal.
All right, then. So there it goes.
For years, everything looked cool on the surface. They'd bump into each other at award shows, festivals, and other industry spots. No public beef, no drama, but behind those smiles, that pressure was bubbling like a pot about to boil over. That's what happens when two lions walk the same jungle, both convinced they're the real king. Neither one was built to play second place, not for a second. And in a game where your worth gets tested daily by your numbers, your features, and your influence, that question was always floating in the air. Who really runs this?
You posted frog emojis. Use your mother's pain for sympathy.
Y'all wanna go to the bando in my neighborhood? Do y'all wanna go to the bando? Do y'all wanna go to the bando?
The storm had been brewing for years, just waiting to explode. Fast forward to the Verzus era, when the whole culture was craving legendary matchups, and that's when T.I. stepped up with a bold claim. During a TV promo run out in Los Angeles, he said he and 50 Cent shook hands on a private deal. According to Tip, it was supposed to be simple. He'd throw out the public challenge, 50 would accept, and the fans would finally get the heavyweight showdown they'd been begging for.
Everything you do proves you're a coward. Final warning, either get up there and compete with your music or shut the hell up and get out of here. If you keep talking down on my family and playing dirty, I will make you pay. You're not the king of the streets, you're just a coward who picks on women and refuses to face me man to man.
I wanna say something about my mama, your mama. Your mama, go dig her up.
Two giants with catalogs packed full of anthems, hit after hit, going bar for bar on a stage made for pure competition. That was the dream. But when the moment came for 50 to keep his word, everything went quiet. According to T.I., the phone calls stopped, the texts dried up, straight silence, no response, no confirmation, just complete ghosting. And in this business, when someone you expected to stand tall beside you suddenly disappears, that's not just disappointment, that's breaking the code. By early February 2026, T.I. had enough. He showed up on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and he didn't hold back, not one bit. What came out his mouth wasn't a sly jab or a soft warning.
No, I know you. You capping. I know you. I know you. I know you. I know you.
It was a full-on call-out, filled with years of frustration finally boiling over. You could hear it in his tone, see it in his face. He meant every word. That clip didn't just make noise, it took over the internet. Within hours, it was everywhere, on every timeline, every feed. Tip wasn't throwing shade behind the scenes. He went national, calling out 50 Cent by his real name, Curtis Jackson, saying he was ducking the fade. And if you know anything about 50 Cent, you already know. Public disrespect like that never goes unanswered. 50 don't do silence, he does strategy. He fired back almost instantly on Instagram, posting throwback clips from T.I.'s old court appearances and topping it off with a slick meme that looked like a PSA. The message: forget Verzus, let's just do the stay away challenge and keep our distance.
I know you though. I know you. What's wrong with y'all? Why y'all doing that to me? Y'all know me.
He even tossed a little LOL on it, cause that's 50's signature move. Turn your opponent into a punchline before the first bar even lands. But T.I. wasn't laughing, not even close. Things went from tense to toxic real fast. By February 11th, 50 cranked the pressure all the way up, straight up calling T.I. King Rat on Instagram, dragging up those old snitching rumors that had haunted Tip since his 2007 federal firearms case. In hip-hop, that kind of label, it's poison, worse than being called irrelevant.
You know I can
You are embarrassing yourself and your family. You embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing yourself.
Once it sticks, it don't come off, no matter how many hits, awards, or plaques you've stacked. Ty wasn't backing down, though. He came out swinging with pure conviction. He dropped a bold message making it clear there was only one real rat in this situation, and he had the paperwork to prove it. He told 50 to either lace up the gloves and face him like a man, or shut up and keep living scared. That line had the internet buzzing.
Post a picture of your mama. She pay respect. Stop playing with my mama.
Their back and forth turned social media into a battlefield. Fans were eating it up, but everyone knew the real fight wasn't online. The real shots were gonna land on wax, and Tip didn't disappoint. On February 22nd, he pulled up on $1 million worth of game and laid it all out. How he and 50 had that private talk, how they agreed to the battle, and how once Tip went public with the challenge, 50 suddenly acted brand new. It was like the whole conversation had never even happened. In Tip's eyes, that wasn't just fear. It was a straight-up flaw in character.
He capping. He capping. He know I stand on business. He know that. Hey, no.
Then came February 23rd, the day everything exploded. T.I. dropped his first diss track teaser, a snippet called War, and it was clear. He wasn't playing around, but that was just the warning shot. That same day, he unleashed the full record, the right one, a diss so raw it went places most rappers wouldn't even dare to mention. The bars hit like a wrecking ball. Ty wasn't just checking 50's toughness, he was coming for his entire image, ripping into the persona that made Curtis Jackson a global brand. Every verse was personal, sharp, and strategic. Then he took it a step further, calling out 50 as nothing more than an online troll, a meme page operator hiding behind his phone screen. The shots were surgical and brutal. But then came the moment that split hip-hop right down the middle. I crossed a line that even the most hardened battle rappers treat as sacred. In one bar, he mentioned 50's late mother, a move that sent shockwaves through the culture. Half the internet was hyped, calling Tip fearless for going bar for bar with one of rap's most dangerous wordsmiths.
Ever pull my car ever in life, I stand on business. You drop me somewhere, I stand on business. You drop me in your hood, I stand on business.
The other half, outraged, saying he went way too far by bringing up family in a war that should have stayed between the two men. But if Tip's verses were the earthquake, 50's response was the aftershock that turned it nuclear. 50 fired back with an Instagram post that set the internet on fire. He uploaded an unflattering picture of T.Y.'s wife, Tiny, and captioned it with a cold warning for them to keep my name out your mouths. That one post flipped the entire situation on its head. By dragging an innocent woman into the beef, 50 broke the one unspoken rule that every real one in hip-hop knows: families are supposed to stay off limits. The whole situation flipped from a rap rivalry to something deeply personal. That's when King Harris, T.I., and Tiny's son stepped into the ring with pure fire in his chest. Nobody expected it, but he came in swinging hard saying, "Y'all wasn't raised like me. I don't move like that." King didn't hold a single thing back. He jumped on Instagram Live, his voice shaking with emotion, making it crystal clear. Coming for his mom was one line that would never be crossed without serious consequences. Then he dropped a response that left the internet completely stunned. He fired off words so shocking, the whole comment section froze. It was a young man standing face to face with one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, defending his mother's name with no filter and no hesitation. People didn't know whether to gasp or applaud. It was raw, emotional, and straight from the heart. That moment went viral instantly. The clip spread across every platform. Everyone talking about how King wasn't just jumping into clout games. This was real. You could feel it in his tone. This wasn't a kid chasing headlines. This was a son defending the woman who raised him. The pain was written all over his words, pushing past the anger and right into something genuine. He kept going too, doubling down with even more passion, showing he meant every syllable. This wasn't entertainment for him, it was family business on full display. No gimmicks, no punchlines, just a son standing 10 toes down for his mom no matter what came with it. 50 Cent fired back the only way he knows how, with memes. He wasted no time clowning the situation, posting an image comparing King Harris to Pepe the Frog and calling out the whole family as ugly. Just like that, a painful, emotional moment got flipped into internet comedy. But then things took an unexpected turn. Tina Knowles, Beyonce's own mother, stepped up to publicly defend Tiny, adding serious weight to the whole situation. That move widened the circle big time, turning what started as a rap beef into a full-on cultural moment that went way beyond hip-hop. At that point, the entire internet was holding its breath. You could feel the tension through the screen. It was thick enough to choke on. People were wondering if this was about to spill out of social media and into real life because the energy was getting too real. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. By February 24th, 50 switched gears completely and went full boss mode. While Tip was still throwing lyrical punches in the booth, 50 hopped online flexing in a whole different lane. He announced that he had just sold out a Broadway production of Joe Turner's Come and Gone. He even threw in a shocked face emoji, basically saying, "While you out here recording diss tracks nobody asked for, I'm selling out theaters you can't even get tickets to." That was cold-blooded, a silent uppercut that didn't need a single lyric to hit hard. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a status check, a power move that completely flipped the story. Imagine how that hit T.I. after dropping 2 explosive diss tracks, even crossing lines most rappers wouldn't dare. He watched 50 turn the whole narrative into a victory lap. T.I. went after 50's mom in his bars. But 50's response wasn't a diss track, it was a Broadway receipt. That's the kind of chess move that changes the whole battlefield. Suddenly it wasn't about who had the harder bars, it was about who mattered more in 2026. And that's a question T.I. might not want echoing too loud. King Harris wasn't sitting quiet though, he jumped right back in to defend his dad. He called out 50's long history of public beefs with Lil' Kim, Kanye, and just about everyone else, painting him as a career instigator who thrives on drama. King said 50 don't beef for principles, he beefs for views. He accused him of turning his massive platform into a weapon, using trolling as entertainment and chaos as content. That statement hit heavy, stirring up conversations everywhere. Then came February 25th, 2026, the day that flipped the whole saga upside down. No warning, no explanation, no caption, out of nowhere. 50 Cent wiped his entire Instagram clean of anything T.I. related. Every meme, every slick post, every shady caption, gone. Deleted like it all never happened. The internet went full-on detective mode. People were digging for clues, trying to figure out what was really going down. Was 50 waving the white flag? Was he cooking up something even bigger behind the scenes? Did his legal team step in to cool things off? Or was there a private convo happening that the public didn't know about? But one thing everybody agreed on, 50 Cent does not fall back. This is the same man who went toe-to-toe with Ja Rule, Rick Ross, and even Floyd Mayweather, all while grinning through the chaos. His whole reputation is built on never backing down and always pushing the fight further. So for him to suddenly hit delete on a beef he was fueling just hours before, that move had everyone wondering what's really happening behind the curtain. That move alone, 50 scrubbing his page clean, was one of the wildest twists in modern rap beef history. But this is where the story takes the turn that brought you right here. According to sources close to both camps, T.I. made a move that nobody saw coming. Not fans, not critics, not even industry insiders. After days of trading the most brutal words imaginable, diss tracks tearing into families, memes clowning grown men, and entire reputations getting dragged through the mud, Tip reportedly reached out to 50's team directly. Not through Instagram, not through interviews, not through any middlemen, just straight phone-to-phone contact. And people close to the situation say the tone of that call was nothing like the man who'd been shouting about war and smoke all week. There was no ego in it, no flexing, just real talk. Every insider describing the call kept using the same word, apology. But let's be clear, it wasn't the kind of apology that breaks a man's image or makes him look weak. Nah, this was different. It was calculated, mature, and surprisingly genuine. Tip knew things had spiraled out of control, and it was time to put some respect back on both of their names. He reportedly acknowledged that they both crossed lines that should have never been touched, especially when it came to mothers, wives, and families. This wasn't about saving face, it was about cleaning up a mess that had gotten way too real. Because when two icons with legacies as deep as theirs start dragging family into the fight, it stops being entertainment. It becomes personal in a way that stains everything they've built, and that's a line even legends know not to cross. Ty had made his stance crystal clear during the beef. He told the world straight up that he didn't respect 50 Cent anymore and had no interest in ever sharing a stage with him again. But there's a big difference between losing respect for somebody's actions and fueling a war that destroys everything around it. See, T.I.'s not new to high-stakes pressure. This is a man who's maneuvered through federal cases, done real time, and still managed to rebuild his career more than once. But this time, he started realizing that the flames were spreading too far. This wasn't just about 50's reputation anymore, it was about his whole family. The longer the fire burned, the more it threatened to scorch King, to drag Tiny into more drama, and to pull everyone close to him into the crossfire. And for a man who's always prided himself on protecting his circle, that math didn't add up anymore. It wasn't worth the damage, so the strategy shifted from attack mode to preservation mode. And when you line up the timeline, everything starts making sense. The same day 50 wiped all those posts off his Instagram, that perfectly matches the whispers that T.I. had reached out behind the scenes. Think about it. If you're 50 Cent and the same man who's been firing shots nonstop for 3 straight weeks suddenly extends an olive branch, what do? You don't throw another meme. You clear the field, you delete the evidence. You make space for what's next, whether it's peace, a business move, or just some much-needed silence. And that's exactly what happened. Since February 25th, neither side has thrown a single jab, dropped a single post, or even hinted at more smoke. For two men who'd been trading shots daily like clockwork, that kind of silence says it all. It's not surrender, it's strategy. The silence right now is deafening and impossible to ignore. But of course, the skeptics are already talking. They're pointing out that T.Y.'s long-awaited swan song album, Kill the King, is about to drop. And they're saying this entire situation, from the first Verzus call-out to the diss tracks to the sudden apology, might have been one big masterclass in promo. A setup so smooth, it put T.I. right back in the headlines at the exact moment he needed the spotlight the most. Fans were quick to notice the timing too. The second T.I. announces his final album, boom! Here comes a full-blown beef with 50 Cent out of nowhere, like magic. And honestly, that theory holds some serious weight. The music industry has a long, messy history of staged rivalries that skyrocket album sales. And if anyone's sharp enough to play that game perfectly, it's T.I. He's been around too long not to understand how the machine really works. Every headline, every repost, every fiery debate in the comments, all of that is free publicity for an album that hasn't even dropped yet. Whether you loved or hated the drama, you were still talking about him, and that's exactly what every artist wants before a major release. But here's where things get interesting. Whether that apology came from a place of strategy or sincerity, it still means something. Because the culture almost never sees a man winning the public battle suddenly step back and choose peace instead of chaos. That's rare, especially in hip-hop, where ego and pride usually push things past the point of no return. Even the Black Wall Street Times stepped in, reporting that by February 20th, the feud had gone from lyrical to deeply personal. And if there's one thing history's taught us, it's that personal beefs in hip-hop can spiral into tragedy instead of resolution. So for Tip to hit pause, to extend communication instead of conflict, that might actually be the most powerful and mature move he's made in this entire saga. Because let's be real, it takes way more heart to calm things down than it does to keep throwing shots. But here's the thing, the 50 Cent beef wasn't the only time T.I. found himself caught in a storm that turned physical, messy, and way too public. 2 years before all that Verzus drama, before the diss tracks, the memes, and the deleted posts, there was another moment, one that hit way closer to home. This one wasn't about fame, rivals, or rap, it was about family. The hardest kind of relationship any man can face, the one with his own son. What went down at that Atlanta Falcons game on November 26, 2023 still hits hard today because it wasn't just about celebrity, it was about something universal. It was about what it means to be a father trying to raise a young man who's determined to prove he's already grown. That day was supposed to be nothing more than a chill family outing. Falcons versus Saints. T.I. had even been online earlier showing love to his kids, hyping up the game, doing the whole proud dad routine. Everything looked picture perfect. The famous family hanging out in a luxury suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, just enjoying their Sunday in the A. But then, things flipped, fast. King Harris went live on Instagram from inside that same suite, and what the world saw next was raw, unfiltered, and shocking. A father-son argument that went from heated words to physical tension in just seconds. Nobody expected it, and maybe that's why it hit so hard. The camera wasn't supposed to catch it, or maybe King wanted the world to see what was really going on behind those celebrity smiles. Once that red light turned on, there was no taking it back. That live stream didn't just show a private family dispute, it froze a deeply personal moment in time. A moment that would end up defining how the public viewed the bond between T.I. and his son. And from that point on, every headline, every clip, every comment about the Harris family carried that same image. A dad and his son caught between love, pride, and the world watching way too close. Now, Tip was trying to make a point that cut deep, right into the heart of that generational divide between a man who built everything from nothing and the kids who grew up surrounded by everything he worked for. In front of the whole live stream audience, he pressed his son with a question that hit harder than any insult. Had King ever really felt the struggle that made his father who he is? The now famous Roach question wasn't some random jab, it was a challenge, a straight-up test of perspective. Tip was reminding his son that the pain, hunger, and grind he came from weren't just stories, they were survival. He wanted King to understand that the same streets that shaped him would eat his son alive if he ever tried to step into them pretending to belong. It wasn't just about pride, it was about reality. Tip was calling out that fake toughness, that social media version of real, where people chase street credibility without ever having lived the street life. He was telling his own blood that there's a massive difference between visiting the trenches for attention and actually fighting your way out of them. One's a story you tell for views. The other's a story you earn just by surviving. The message was crystal clear. King's whole tough guy image in his father's eyes was just costume play. And for a young man fighting to be seen as his own person, someone separate from the long shadow of a legendary dad, that kind of criticism, delivered live for the world to see, was the spark that blew everything wide open. It was the classic story of the king who refused to kneel. What unfolded next in that Falcon suite turned into a snapshot of what family looks like in the social media era, where one argument, one emotional moment can turn into viral content in seconds. King Harris didn't back down, not even a little. He didn't take the comment, stay quiet, and play the celebrity kid role everyone expected. Nah, he stood his ground. With the kind of fire that told everyone watching this wasn't their first father-son showdown, you could feel it. Years of tension bubbling under the surface, all boiling over at once. The same argument that had probably been happening behind closed doors was now spilling out in real time. Was King Harris really his own man? Or just living comfortably inside the fortress his father's fame and money built? The whole silver spoon talk, the Nepo baby label, those weren't just online insults, they were emotional daggers. Because coming from your own father, that hits completely different. That's not an internet troll calling you spoiled, it's the man who raised you telling you that your success might not be yours at all. And those are the kinds of words that don't fade quick. They echo, they linger, and they cut deeper than any diss track ever could because they're coming from the one voice that matters most. You can hear the desperation breaking through King's voice. He wasn't laying out a calm argument, he was fighting emotions that were moving faster than his words could form. He kept repeating himself, caught between pride, pain, and frustration. Deep down, he knew who his father was, a man who'd walked through real fire, survived things he couldn't imagine. But at the same time, King knew who he was, or at least who he wanted to be. And the thought of his own dad tearing that identity apart, live and unfiltered, was too much to carry in that moment. That stammering, the words tripping over each other, the shaky tone, that wasn't weakness. That was what it sounds like when your emotions are too heavy for your voice to hold. It's what happens when the person you love most in the world, the one you've spent your life trying to impress, looks at you and says, "You're not who you think you are." Then came the phrase that defined the entire moment. "I stand on business." That wasn't just a quote. It became King's anthem, his declaration of independence, his way of telling the world and his father that he's not soft, not spoiled, not a Nepo baby pretending to be tough. It was a young man's line in the sand saying, "I'm solid, I'm built for mine." Every son reaches that point eventually, the moment where he has to look his father in the eye and say, "I'm my own man." But most people don't have to do it with millions watching live, replaying every second, turning family pain into viral content. The tension was already explosive, and then it crossed the line. Words turned into movement. A shove went flying, and suddenly the argument got physical. T.I.'s reaction, grabbing his son and locking him up, wasn't about malice. It was instinct colliding with emotion. It was a father trying to regain control while his pride, his frustration, and his love for his son all collided at once. What the world saw as aggression was really something much more complicated, a raw, messy, unfiltered snapshot of a family fighting through love, pride, and generational fire. It was the kind of grip a man uses when words stop working, when talking no longer reaches the person standing in front of you, and physical authority becomes the only language left in the room. That was T.I.'s breaking point. Just 0.6 seconds of raw, unfiltered footage that the world would soon replay millions of times online. He wasn't trying to hurt his son. He was trying to contain him, trying to stop King from saying or doing something that would make an already messy situation spiral even further out of control. But the visuals were intense, brutal even. There he was, a Grammy-winning rapper, a man who'd survived the federal system and climbed his way back to success, now locked in a struggle with his own child in a luxury suite at an NFL game with cameras catching every second. Tiny jumped in fast, stepping between them before things could go any further. She pulled father and son apart, doing what moms always do when the tension explodes, bringing a little bit of control back into the chaos. And just like that, the suite fell silent. That heavy, still kind of silence that only comes after something big blows up. A silence that feels like the air itself is holding its breath. Then came the aftermath. King took to Instagram stories almost immediately, his posts spilling out pure emotion, part pain, part defiance. He was standing his ground, declaring that nobody could run up on him, no matter who they were. But underneath the tough tone, the words hinted at something deeper. A young man questioning where he stood in his own family, even wondering if his loved ones saw him as some kind of mistake. It wasn't just rebellion anymore, it was heartbreak, pride, and confusion colliding in real time for everyone to see. Those posts didn't stay up long, but by the time King deleted them, it was already too late. The internet had done what it always does, screenshotted, archived, and blasted every word across gossip blogs and hip-hop forums everywhere. Within hours, the whole world had an opinion. T.I.'s public response, though, came with calm precision. He didn't rant or clap back. Instead, he told the internet straight up to mind its business. He made it clear that what went down between him and his son was family business, not entertainment. No matter how many people watched, commented, or judged, it wasn't up for public debate. And this wasn't even the first time things had boiled over between them. Reports pointed back to a previous clash at a Waffle House in 2022, a moment that hinted at a pattern, a cycle of tension that kept looping between father and son. At the center of it all was the same tug of war, King's need for independence versus T.Y.'s instinct to protect and control. Neither side ever fully backed down, and the issue never got truly resolved. It just kept simmering under the surface, waiting for the next spark. Even after that viral moment at the Falcons game, after being physically held back by his own father on camera, King didn't fold. He stayed defiant, doubling down on his words, standing firm that his toughness was real, not for show. He wasn't trying to prove anything to the internet. He was trying to prove something to himself and to the man who raised him. That stubbornness, that refusal to back off even an inch, said everything about where his head was. King wasn't just arguing about who was tougher. He was fighting for his identity, fighting for the right to define himself on his own terms. He was done being compared to his dad's legacy or measured against a story he didn't live. And that's the painful truth in all of it. He was trying to become his own man under the watchful eye of a father who'd already conquered the world in a way King might never fully understand. And that tension, that constant push and pull between a father who clawed his way out the mud and a son who was born above it is one of the realest, most universal family struggles out there, no matter how much money's in the bank. It's that mix of pride, love, and friction that every generation feels, just magnified under the spotlight. But within days, something started to shift. The energy cooled and the tone moved from conflict to connection. Ty stepped up publicly to make sure the world understood where his heart was. In a heartfelt post, he clarified that his love for King was unshakable. He wrote that they were tied together like a knot, promising he'd ride for his family to the heavens or the depths of the abyss. That message hit deep. It showed that no matter how ugly things got, blood still ran stronger than ego. Then, in a powerful gesture, Tip started promoting King's music, putting a spotlight on his track Father Like Sons with his brother Damani. It was a moment that told everyone watching that even after a public explosion, their bond wasn't broken, it was just bruised. The world got to see both of them start piecing it back together. One song, one post, one step at a time. By 2025, King dropped a reflective post of his own, calling himself the man my father raised me to be, and admitting that he and T.I. were finally seeing eye to eye. It was proof that the Falcons game moment, as wild and painful as it was, might have been the turning point that brought them closer instead of tearing them apart. If you like this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, and keep it locked in because we'll be back with more stories that shake the culture. See you in the next one.